Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1259A, and today's date is April 20th, 2017, and the title of the episode is, The Plan is Set to Collapse the Economy, which will send precious metals sky high. Let's get into the economic collapse financial news. Now, yesterday we talked about Venezuela and how they're going to be selling their gold to get dollars because they are in a heap of trouble right now. So General Motors right now is saying that the Venezuelan authorities, well, they illegally seized its plant in the industrial hub of Valencia, and as a result, the car maker said it would immediately halt operations in Venezuela. And we can see that things are getting worse in Venezuela, and this is due to the deep state putting a lot of pressure on Venezuela. They want the oil in Venezuela, and they are using economic means to squeeze Venezuela as hard as they possibly can. And it's making it very difficult for the people, where people can't get supplies, they can't get food, and it's a very tough situation in Venezuela right now. Now, here in the United States, we are seeing a lot of things happening, and we're seeing the economy, well, every passing day right now, the economy is getting worse and worse. And what's very interesting today, the market just shot up like crazy. And we see that Mnuchin, he's out there pushing the idea that the dollar is going to be going higher. And it's completely opposite of what Trump is saying, but we'll get into that in a little bit later. But I wanted to point out that gold, well, it has been slammed down now for the third day in a row. And what's very interesting about all of this is that they keep slamming it down, but gold is holding steady. For some reason, they can't get it to move. And this is the third day in a row. Now, normally in the past, when they did a slam like this, gold would drop dramatically. So it looks like at this point, they're having a little bit of trouble controlling gold right now. And this is something that we need to watch and look at very carefully, because as we said, as they continually try to slam gold down and it doesn't move anymore, and every time they try to slam it down and it starts to move up, well, things are about to change. And I'm not talking about moving up like $1 or $2 or $10 or $20. I'm talking about 50, 100, 150. When you start to see that, you know the countdown has begun and things are about to change. Now, continuous jobless claims, they are at the lowest since April of 2000. Now, what happened during the year of 2000 when the jobless claims were this low? The NASDAQ peaked at the end of the dot-com boom, and then it collapsed to over 80% in the next 2 years. So we are following this pattern where we see jobless claims continually decline, and every time they hit a certain point, we have problems. So we have the industrial production. We're seeing indicators of the same exact thing. We're seeing jobless claims showing the same exact pattern. And when we look at this and we look at what is happening with industrial production and we're looking at what's happening with continuous jobless claims, we can see during 2008, they both fell at the same time. And we went into a recession. Well, they're manipulating the continuing jobless claims because they are not falling the way they did back in 2008. But industrial production, that is declining right now. So they're heading in opposite directions, which tells us something is going on here. And we know that continuing jobless claims, they are completely manipulated. So this is hardly a leading indicator of awesome times ahead right now. This is an indicator that things are rapidly changing. Now, we talked about a lot of retail stores that are closing, and a lot more are going to be closing. A lot of people are going to be laid off. And for the first time in 52 years of operation, Subway, they announced that it contracted in 2016. And we see right now that it looks like they're going to be shutting some of their stores. This does not look good because what is happening now is people can't even go out and purchase fast food. We know that the restaurant index is continually dropping. We know the traffic is drying up. And we're starting to see signs of this, and this is a big problem. So when we look day to day to day to day, and we go back maybe month to month, we see things are rapidly changing very, very quickly. Actually, Verizon right now, the largest U.S. wireless carrier by subscribers, reported earnings which missed on both the top and bottom line. This is the first quarter of 2017. Verizon posted its first ever quarterly net loss of wireless subscribers, and revenue declined by 7.3% to $29.8 billion, missing estimates of $30.8 billion. Again, not a good sign. IBM, same thing. Caterpillar, the same thing. And we're seeing a lot of retail stores closing. The Philly Fed Manufacturing Survey, it has collapsed in the last 2 months, the biggest drop since January of 2015. The 22 print missed expectations and was the lowest since December of 2016, amid a big slump in new orders and shipments. So we're starting to see the soft data. Well, that's completely null and void. The hard data is showing exactly what is going on. And since the election, where we had all this hype, this dead cat bounce of all this information, all these economic indicators, well, they're all reversing right now. And we see right now that things are rapidly changing. Now, the Fed came out with their beige book, and there were 3 things in the beige book that really didn't make any sense whatsoever. And they were talking about industrial production, and they're saying that industrial production, well, it's strengthening. It reported that auto sales, well, they were strengthening. But when you look at the real numbers, March auto sales final numbers down 5.7%, 2-year low. That doesn't make sense. They also reported non-auto retail spending. They're saying that retail sales, well, they were a little bit softer, but everything is fine. The fact of the matter is retail sales unexpectedly declined. Revisions are even worse. So again, what are they talking about? I mean, are they just out there pushing the propaganda, trying to make everyone believe that the economy is fine? So they can say that, oh, look, it was all due to Donald Trump? I mean, that's what we're starting to see right now. They also said wage increases are broadening. Well, no, wage growth is non-existent since August of 1971. And if you factor in price inflation, you can see that, no, wages are not growing. Actually, wages are declining right now. And these are very strange things in the beige book that are not hooked to any type of reality whatsoever. They're just making this stuff up to make everyone believe that everything is fine. And of course, the corporate media is out there, and they're just going along with it, that everything is great. But there are some corporate media outlets out there giving us a hint of what is to come, because they're saying that things are starting to change a little bit, and they're trying to explain it away, which we reported on a couple days ago. So we can see already they're starting the propaganda. The economy was great. Trump came into office. Things are not looking good anymore. And this is how it's going to go. Now, Trump is pushing the agenda to collapse the economy. I know many people are like, no, he's not doing this. No, yes, he is. He is definitely getting prepared and ready to bring this down. He looked at the U.S. economy, just like he looks at his businesses. He knows when things are done here. He knows that it's time to bring it down. And we are getting indicators that he's starting to do this, where he already told the Fed, because they're raising interest rates and they want a strong dollar, he's saying the opposite. I believe that interest rates that are lower and a weaker dollar would be better. So he's telling the Fed that I want the opposite now. He's also telling the Fed, print as much as you possibly can. Now, if the Fed starts to print more money, QE, this is going to be negative for the stocks and positive for gold. That's going to be very interesting, because he's starting to switch all of this. Now, what happens if Trump bullies the Fed into accepting his higher growth rates, which he achieved by boosting government spending and borrowing billions? Could it happen in the first place? Well, yes, it could, because in the 70s, Richard Nixon bullied the Fed into printing money so that he could win the 1972 election. It can happen because it happened. Now, Wall Street would wobble and the stock market most likely would fall, and gold will probably shoot up. Now, on January 17th, 2017, the Wall Street Journal published an article in which Trump stated, point blank that the US dollar is too strong. Now, we talked about this before, and the US currency took note, falling over 1% that day, bringing it to a critical support. And the Fed, well, they had different plans. They hiked the interest rates. They're going to hike it many more times in 2017. And the US dollar reclaimed this line and has since maintained it. So last week, Trump struck again, this time tweeting the US dollar is too strong. And we can see right now that Trump wants a lower US dollar. And it's also obvious that he's trying to basically do the opposite of what the Fed is doing right now. Because we know what the Fed is doing. It's raising the interest rates because they're getting prepared to collapse the economy. He also sees that the economy needs to be collapsed and it has to be completely restarted because there's no way out of this whatsoever. And this is why he's doing the opposite of what the Fed wants. And as he brings the dollar lower, as he wants the Fed to print more currency, as the Fed raises interest rates, well, what's going to happen to gold? Well, if Trump continues to push the US dollar lower, gold will only perform even better. Look what's happened in the last 3 days, where we've seen thousands of contracts thrown at gold. These are derivative contracts. They cannot bring gold down like they did before, where they used to drop $30, $40, $50. And each one should have brought gold down $30, $40, $50 to bring it back to the level probably around 1100 or so. It didn't work. Now, as he continually pushes for a lower dollar, gold is going to continually rise. Now, the central bank, those who are trying to control the gold market, the precious metals market, they're going to continually try to dump more contracts. But people are going to see this and they're going to say, okay, what is going on here? The dollar is decreasing. They're continually throwing contracts at gold. Something is happening right now. Let's just buy gold just in case. Now, we can see right now that gold will then start to move up. So this is what we're looking at from this point on how gold does. Will it maintain the upward trend? And will Trump continually lower the dollar right now while the Fed raises the rates? Because all of this is going to end up in a collapse scenario. And we can see both sides are playing each other because they know it's time to bring down the economy. The Fed wants to bring it down. They want to bring it down orderly. Trump wants to bring it down. He wants to bring it down orderly. And they want to blame each other. And this is the battle right now that's going on. But the positive out of all this, as the economy is falling and the dollar is weakening, gold is going to be moving up. Silver is going to be moving up. And they're going to eventually lose control of this. And this is exactly what we're doing. Now, Steve Mnuchin, he is out there saying that, no, we want a strong dollar. No, we're going to have tax cuts. We're going to be doing all this. Now, I know that he is part of Goldman Sachs. And when Trump came into office, the Republicans didn't want him. The Democrats didn't want him. Nobody actually really wanted him. And he had to make some concessions, so he had to bring certain people on. And he's letting these people dig their own graves right now. I know people don't see it. They think that he's part of the problem here. But we don't know that yet because we're looking at many different indicators. And a lot of them right now don't even make sense of what everyone is saying, that he is part of the deep state. He's part of the problem, because we can see that he's still calling out the New York Times for fake news, CNN for fake news about this whole Patriot football visit to the White House, where the New York Times was still up there showing the differences between Obama when he had the Patriots and when Trump had the Patriots. And again, the Patriots even came out and said, listen, it's fake news. Most of the staff was not on the steps this time. They were in the audience. So we can see right now that things are still not the way everyone thinks they are. And he's playing a game right now. He's playing their game, and he's going to trick them. Now, when we look at the situation, we can see where he's moving. He's moving to bring gold up and the dollar down, and he's looking to counter everything the Fed is doing, because he wants to do the old switcheroo to say, listen, since you were bringing up the interest rates, you are the one who collapse the economy. And he can point back in time saying, this is what happened back in 2007, 2008. You did the same thing there. If we go back in time once again, he can say there is a pattern of this. And we see right now that this is the move he is making. Now, again, does it mean it's going to be foolproof? No, absolutely not. No plan is ever foolproof. But we can see that he is making the move right now, and the plan is to collapse the economy. Now, if you listen to Charles Nenner, if you listen to Cliff High, if you listen to Harry Dent, if you listen to all these individuals, David Stockman, they all talked about how they're using their analysis, and they're talking about how the economy is not going to make it past the fall, and things are going to rapidly change. And we are definitely starting to see this change right now, and we are seeing chaos, we're seeing change, we're seeing the economy deteriorate very, very quickly, more so than we've ever seen before, and we're starting to see that these contracts that are thrown at the precious metals market, it is not working like it used to. Things are definitely changing, and things are not operating the same way anymore. So this is something that we need to look at. This is something we need to watch, because I believe in the next month or two, things are going to rapidly change even further and faster. So get prepared. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.